Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Calling Podcast, all about first responders. And, of course, thanking our veterans and all those who are in the current service, whether it's fire, police, military, our doctors, our nurses. Make sure that you thank them every day. If you see them, give them a shout out. Also, I want to remind you, while you're watching this show, subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment. Those comments are very important to us, and we want to hear what you're thinking. Just so you know, it's brought to you from here, right here in our Sober Life studios, brought to you by One Brother, One Sister, The Calling. I have some cool people here today. And I got a double going here because usually it's just me and one other person. So I'm going to try to keep up with two brains today with none of my own. We have Angelo Martinez and Natalia Earle. Yes. Did I get those both right?
Yes.
Excellent. With a name like Scott Jones, I mess up names because I don't even think about it. And you know, you guys run and you created a nonprofit, and we're going to be talking about that. But just tell me a little bit, of your background, where you're from and what brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again for having us.
It's my pleasure.
Honored to be here. Again, my name's Angelo. I served 8 years in Marine Corps infantry, and I got out, struggled a lot. September will be 10 years sober. And we created the Barracks Foundation to draw veterans out of isolation into community to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide.
All right. So that's the Barracks Legend Foundation. And if you want information while we're doing this, I'll pop this up every once in a while. It's barrackslegendfoundation.com. It's hard to say, but it's easy to type. So just go ahead and put it in there.
BLF was taken. Sorry, guys.
I know. You want to go for the shortcuts. I was
like,
So, okay. And how about you, Natalia?
I'm Natalia. I'm his chief operating officer. And we actually met at one of the fundraisers where he was a keynote speaker. And he was sharing his journey and all the struggles that community is having. And I was that ignorant civilian. Well, let me go back a little bit. I'm an immigrant, and I immigrated in this country almost 30 years ago. And I do believe that we live in the best country in the world, and we have most amazing freedoms and, things that we enjoy every single day. And I'm so grateful to every man and women that fought for our rights. And we, again, get to live in this country. And I was sitting there and I was like, what do you mean? You guys have all the benefits. This is why you join the military, for the benefits, right? When you get out, you guys are taken care of. And more I learned, more and more I was very surprised of what is happening behind the scenes, so to say. And I also host a podcast. So what started from a podcast interview, because I wanted to bring him on a show and spread awareness and how my community could support him, we just ended up creating Barracks Legend Foundation, and here we are. And, it's doing its thing.
We usually don't do this, but what is the name of your podcast? Let's give yourself a plug here.
Oh, thank you. It's called Buckle Up with exclamation point with Natalia Earle.
Buckle Up.
Yes. It concentrates on adversities and failures and what makes us resilient. Because I believe everybody has a story to tell. Success doesn't come without dark side. So I ask my guests to share the dark side of the life and what helped you, who helped you, what resources.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. Because we love to talk about success, but and I was so sick and tired of celebrities having the stage and sharing their success stories. And I was like, I want real people, real stories,
people,
real hardships.
And the real bumpy roads that
Exactly.
people have to, and buckle up, because it's not a smooth ride ever.
It's funny you say that, because my intro goes, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? You know what's amazing, though, Natalia, is that people stand in line to go on a roller coaster. They don't stand in line to go on the monorail. The monorail is smooth and easy, but they want to be tossed around and tossed upside down. They want to be thrilled. But then when it happens in their life, they look at it like it's a bad thing. And I'm saying that bumpy road, that's the enjoyment of life right there. That's not knowing what's going to happen next and figuring things out. So that's great. So buckle up. Everybody check it out, the podcast. And, maybe we'll do something together, some other projects together in the future. I always look for other people that are doing good work with podcasting. So let's get back to you, Angel. I mean, you come out of the military, you straighten yourself around, but what did you see as something you needed to address? Obviously, you created your foundation based on a need. What was it that you saw as a need?
Well, 44 veterans a day take their lives. And we were told
That 44 veterans a day in the U.S. are taking their own lives?
yes.
Wow.
We're told it's 22. 22 comes from the 22 number excludes alcohol-related incidences and drug-related. So anyone that OD'd or drunk himself to death does not. But now you add that, and all of a sudden you get 44,
Wow.
and that's based on the study out of Duke, Alabama State University, and I believe it was America's Warrior Project that conducted Operation Deep Dive. And they were the ones that were spearheading that and exposing that. And that's what made me realize, just educationally made me realize, wow, this is real. Suicide in itself, I almost killed myself in December of 2019. And I was oblivious to all the suicide stuff up until that point. And as I got up to go retrieve the AK-47 that my roommate had in his room, my phone rang. It was another Marine I had recently met. And he invited me out to go shoot a video out on the beach for his supplement company. And I said, well, he doesn't really know me. Not going to matter. So I'll go do this. And I went out there. I dressed up as a Navy SEAL Christmas elf. I stormed the beach with a bunch of other veterans.
We need a picture of that sometime. Sometime you're going to have to. The Navy SEAL Christmas elf. That should be in everyone's home.
Yeah. It was, and I tell you, up to that point, I was super lonely, depressed. I was going through a really nasty divorce, and I came back home wet, sandy, cold. I sat on this broken futon, and I said to myself, I don't have to die anymore. I don't have to kill myself. And I realized right then that I needed veteran camaraderie because I was filled with so much joy and happiness that I had missed for so long that it just all came crashing down on me. I was like, I need to cling to these guys. And I did. And I spent the next 3 or 4 years fundraising and really diving into the veteran community and discovering what the 22 number was, and then doing more research and discovering it's 44 veterans.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you figured out it was the camaraderie and not being dressed as an elf, because then we would hate to have to tell people if you're feeling sad. No, but
go grab an elf suit.
But that is really important, though. I know I'm making light, but it's really important that they stay connected somehow because you can't come back. Now, I did not serve, but my grandfather served in World War II. My brother served in the Gulf War, and my son was a Marine who was, had his issues. But so I've been surrounded by it. When you guys come back, when veterans come back, it's important to have somebody who understands what you've been through.
Right.
And it's not just gunfire and all that. It's just the daily life and the daily rituals of how you lived. People don't understand that.
Right. When you get out, there's a loss of structure, a loss of purpose, a loss of camaraderie, right? And that's just the tip of the spear. Majority of the marriages in the military don't last. There's like a 70% or higher divorce rate. You're talking about broken families, broken marriages. So all that compounds. You transition out. They don't do a good job helping veterans transition out. They do, I'm going to train you for 4 or 5 years. I'm going to make you the warrior that we need you to be, and then you're on your own. And a lot of times, I just speak from more of an infantry background. You have to really unlearn those things and relearn how to be somewhat normal in a civilian world, because you can't always. It's not going to be. My next job is going to be once I get out, I'm going to go kick down doors for Walmart. It doesn't work that way. You have to. You need real skills, and you have these real skills. And you have all these leadership traits that transition to so many amazing different job possibilities or entrepreneurship or nonprofits. You just don't know.
But they don't go far enough to connect people with that.
No.
Just the thought of you saying that, you got your boot camp and your training and then your lifestyle for 8 years. And then from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've talked to other veterans about this, the reintegration is like a couple of days. It's if you're lucky.
Yeah. I think it's called TAPS. I think it might still be TAPS. It's a few days. And for someone like me on the, on my spiral down, it didn't mean anything because you showed me how you made me write one resume, which was absolutely terrible. It was like 3 pages long. And you told me to apply for jobs in my area that didn't correlate to what my job field was or my leadership traits were. So
it's wow. You're like a fish. You got pulled out of the ocean. They throw you on land and say, "Go learn how to breathe on your own."
Yeah.
And this is one of the we get the largest military in the world, the most well-funded military in the world, the most well-trained military in the world. But we then at the end of their service, we have the least benefits for that military of anybody. I mean, there's most other countries, almost all other countries, there's a certain reverence to somebody who's been a veteran. We could say this about our elderly as well, too, in the United States. Something we need to think. Natalia, were you shocked when you found out about all this?
I was.
Is that what really got your heart? Is that?
Yes, because people around me, my friends, growing up in this country too, it's just I would always hear, oh, I joined the military because they're going to pay for my college and now I'm taken care of. So in my head, I always thought, and again, I'm fascinated with military and anything that has to do with intelligence. I've even had some spies on my podcast that were spies in Russia in 1980s.
A spy on a podcast. That's not a good spy, by the way. I'm just saying.
I mean, they didn't tell me anything, but right, like they just share. I can't talk about anything, right? I was like, yeah, let's just talk about how you became a Green Beret,
All right.
So, but me, David Goggins, right? People like that, like they're so fascinating to me, and everything, like any Navy SEAL or any infantryman, everything that they go through. Like you can't blend in anywhere.
No. And it's like you almost become a second-class citizen because now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Is that an accurate description? Or?
Yeah. Kind of. It took me, 2011. It took me all the way up until really 2020 to really figure out, like, okay, I obviously I have, I need education. What do I want to do? I narrowed down chiropractic. How do I get to chiropractic? I got my undergrad in exercise science through FAU, but I also had severe traumatic brain injury, which was a struggle for me to get through my bachelor's. And not a lot of people understand, like, yeah, school's going to be hard. It was that much harder for me because I couldn't retain the information that was being presented. Right. And then to take an exam and then try to regurgitate was that much harder for me.
So you had to learn how to encode it yourself. You could not just take it as it was written. Yeah. You had to figure out a way to encode it yourself. Yeah. And obviously you figured that out for you.
Yeah. I mean, I figured it out all the way up until I did hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which helped heal a lot of the spots in my brain that were pretty banged up. And I tell you what, that last semester was a breeze. Wow. Because I was able to regurgitate a large amount of the information that I could not before.
Excellent. So you, chiropractor. Excellent. I mean, you're on your path. You can make money. You're all set.
Well,
so then somewhere inside your head, you said, "Let me not do that, and let me struggle with a nonprofit." Is that what happened?
That's almost. I mean, I started the chiropractic medical school January of 2023. I definitely underestimated the course load because you would think it's like 4 classes a semester, and my first semester was 8 classes, and it was very challenging. And I, that's the time frame where I met Natalia, and you can't put there's no monetary value on someone's life.
No, of course not.
And if I have the time to do it, I'm going to do it because I struggled. I almost took my life. I've received phone calls from guys and girls that were on the cusp. I've woken up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. to go pick up veterans just to go take them to get donuts, to go talk, or just to go grab coffee and talk, because that's what's happening right now. No one's, and it's not a shot to just the regular civilians, but just no one's coming for us. No one is. It's either to me, it's either I answer the call or I don't.
No, I understand. I mean, most people don't even understand the scope of the problem. I understand that. And others are like, well, what am I going to do to help somebody? I don't even understand. But just a simple human kindness is the way to start, right? You don't have to be a trauma therapist to help somebody. You can just be a decent person.
A hug. We had an event last year, and this is when I was a part of another organization, and we went to Rib Roundup, and we gave out free hugs at the end of Rib Roundup. It was a hug like 2,000-3,000 people, and the people that were coming up to us, I hug for 5-6 seconds and I let go. They're still holding on to me, telling me I really needed this, or my dad just died, or one of their kids just passed away. Like, it's mind-boggling. But that's just a regular world. You narrow it down to veterans, and it gets real dark real quick. And I shared this with Natalia and several other people. I was oblivious to the 22. Sure enough, 44.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in the nonprofit beforehand, and it didn't really set into me until someone told me that someone tried to thank me for saving their life. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, when you called me 6 months ago, I had just loaded my gun, and I either had to answer your call or go through with what I was.
Right.
And this is like one of my really good friends.
Right.
And that made it clear to me. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it made me double down on what I was going to do.
Yeah, you hear people say all the time, well, you saved my life. You pulled me out of the gutter. You did something. But this wasn't hyperbole. This was real.
Yeah.
Somebody was, and that's got to, like you said, it kind of really brings it home. So you start this foundation. And what is the mission? Because there's so many things that they need help with. You mentioned the suicide rate. The homelessness of veterans is astronomical. It's ridiculous. The underserved medical services. The VA, guess what? It should be the greatest organization on this planet. It should be. And it doesn't even compare to our regular hospitals. It's below that. It should be the greatest organization on the planet because it's taking care of the largest military on the planet. Right. But it's not. So you have all these things you need to do for these veterans. What did you narrow in on that you knew that you could make a difference in?
Well, I looked at all the other organizations that are out there. And so what's the one thing that I could bring to the table that they haven't? And it's consistency. And it's not that they aren't consistently doing what they're doing, but what their missions are far different than ours. Our mission is to host these electrifying events, from shark dives to axe throwing to comedy shows, that draw veterans out of isolation into community to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. If I can consistently draw this veteran to an exciting event into this community of other veterans, the chances of improving their mental health are greater than ever, and the chances of preventing veteran suicide are astronomical.
Wow. Well, it's such a simple concept.
Yeah.
But nobody does it. It's just about creating that camaraderie that they need, that connection, the link.
Yeah.
Were you like excited by this? Or?
Yes, and because we're also very consistent. We were hoping to do 2 to 4 events a month. Last 2 months, we've done 5 events per month.
Wow.
And where a lot of nonprofits, I think.
You look like you haven't slept. That's what it is. Now let's do 12. Good,
and I think where a lot of nonprofits struggle or get distracted with is chasing numbers. We don't concentrate on the width, we concentrate on the depth. So all these little events that we host, we might have 25, 15 veterans come, but that gives us a better ability to create one-on-one relationships, to ask the personal questions that need to be asked, to really find out what each one of them is struggling with. And as a foundation, we are here to break down the silos with other nonprofits, because no organization has enough supplies or resources or even events to help everyone. If we connect and collaborate instead of it being a competitive thing or a competition, it's a game changer. And this is where we come in as a bridge to connect veterans to other incredible nonprofits, like that do hyperbaric chamber dives or provide dogs for veterans, or do hormonal treatments. But at these events, a lot of times people look at them, oh, they're just events, they're having fun. No, that's not what it's really about. It's about that camaraderie, that community, because the community will show up for you. The community will never judge you. The community will be the first one when you make that phone call that will all be there. And that's a difference, because we live in a social media hyper-driven world, but loneliness is a worldly problem.
That's amazing. I love that thought. I mean, when you think about it, you could do a lot of therapy, you could do a lot of different things, but sometimes the greatest impact is Bob meeting John at a coffee house or at a my grandfather stayed connected to his people. He was in the 43rd Cavalry in World War II, and he had a group of people that up until my grandfather passed, they were connected, and they were dying off. I mean, they were doing it, but they would meet once a year in Chicago and have a big gathering. Yeah. And then beyond that, he had people in New York that would get together every Sunday and have coffee together. And those people, when his wife passed, those are the people that saved his life, having those connections. So do you think people underestimate the power of that kind of connection?
They do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times it's just, we come from, in the Marine Corps is just a big, diverse pot of, California, New York, we all come from so many different backgrounds, and we live so spread out that a lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind, and it takes some effort. And I mean, I have gone to Virginia to visit some of my friends, Pennsylvania, Orlando. My friends have come down here because we really do believe that it's really important. That if I was willing to trust you to save my life or trust you with my life in Iraq, I still trust you with the hardships I'm going to go through here in America.
That's fantastic. I love this. And, you're based out of South Florida here.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you expecting to grow? I mean, what is your vision? I understand the mission is to bring people together, and whether it's an entertainment thing or just a gathering of some kind, whatever you can do to bring people together, that's great. What is your vision for down the road? What do you want to see?
Well, we want to make sure that we have a strong footprint here in South Florida. We do plan on expanding to other cities. Right now, we're primarily in West Palm down to Miami. We'll facilitate a comedy show, the Operation Battle Laugh, in Destin, to provide a free comedy show to the air stations up there and the veterans and their families. That'll be our first deployed event, and the first event that's out of South Florida. Duke.
we have a little dog, big dog in the studio just laying down. We're all distracted, saying, "Okay."
So our goal is to expand beyond Florida and go nationwide to be able to provide these kind of services and be a bridge to other resources for veterans.
Well, I've got contacts to a lot of bands that play, that we might be able to do some things, help you out on that side too. But One Brother, One Sister would love to be a part of and help you guys in any way you can.
Thank you.
More importantly, I want to let everybody know that I did notice if the people want to make a donation, they can do that. And every bit counts, right? Every little bit.
Yep. And not a dime goes to us. Everything goes to these events. We do not pay ourselves. We don't take a dime. Every single dime goes to facilitating, organizing all these events, so that these events are free or no charge to veterans.
Barrackslegendfoundation.com. If you go there is a place for you to donate. You could also read more about their mission. So Are you getting help? Are you getting people getting involved? What kind of reception? First of all, how long has this been going on?
We're going to celebrate 1 year, May 19th.
You're in your first year. No wonder you don't look beat down. Wait till you get like 4 or 5 years, and then. But
hopefully by then we can have a team of people that can
we
help
still
us.
have hope.
So-
But it sounds to me like you're gaining ground. Are you getting a lot of responses from different companies and community members?
We are, and I think where we are different is we build that human relationships.
Yeah.
We actually like to meet people one-on-one. We actually like to share our stories with them one-on-one, like face to face. And I think where a lot of civilians struggle is, well, I'm not a veteran. What can I bring to the table? If you can't donate money, you can always donate time. Every single one of us has a skill that can bring to the table. So when we host these different events, we always need volunteers. And you know what? Again, just to be a shoulder for someone to lean on you on, or just to, sometimes people need to be heard, just to sit there and hear someone's story. You don't necessarily have to give an advice, but you can sit there and listen, or give that really meaningful hug at the end of the day. And, you know, I can't relate to anything that this men and women went through, but I show up with my skill set, which is operations, right? Okay, how, because he's a visionary and I'm an integrator. And when he flies high. Sometimes I have to ground him like an airplane. Like, we can't afford that right now. We don't have money.
Really?
But again, what can you bring to the table to make that difference? But then I take his ideas and we make them happen.
You know, the businesses in the community too. Are you getting some response from them as well? The businesses.
Yes, we have wonderful sponsors.
We have some amazing sponsors. One of our real special sponsors, Modern Rose.
Mm-hmm.
They at the moment they could not financially donate, so they not only are they hosting our birthday in Hollywood at their new location, but they created a Barracks sudden drink, and 20% of that transaction goes to the Barracks Foundation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
That is how dedicated a lot of these sponsors are.
That is fantastic. Well, I'll tell you personally, I'm a DJ as well. And any events you have where you require a DJ, music, or sound system, I'll be there for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be there anytime you want. But you know, there's so much to talk about here, and so much. What are you thinking about? You know, what are you most proud of as far as when you look at this and what it's done? Have you had moments where you've been able to see a real impact? Because sometimes a lot of these things happen behind the scenes. You don't get to see it up front. But have you been able to be a part of some of those miracles?
Yeah, I mean, one that really sticks out is we had a female amputee that was really struggling, and she was on the west coast of Florida, and we were doing a shark dive. And I just chit-chatted with her, and I told her, listen, we want you to come. If you can't make the morning shark dive, come the afternoon. Not a big deal. No worries. There's plenty of events to come. And she was in a really dark place, but she showed up for the afternoon dive. And she even made some comments about her amputee and, you know, the way she looked, or her missing limb. And the girl that entered the boat was not the girl that left the boat.
The body language.
The body language, the life in her eyes. She really, she must have thought, like, obviously negative about herself. But that didn't matter to us. That'll never matter to us. Like, you made
Nobody
a
paid
sacrifice.
attention. Yeah.
You're one of us. We're going to make fun of you, but we're going to love you. Like, and she was all about it.
Yeah.
She was all about it.
I happened to be on the boat too. And when I saw that transformation from, you know, her not talking in the beginning and after leaving and laughing and socializing with everyone, I looked at him and I was like, now I get it. Work me to death. I get it.
Wow. Wow, how fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you stay in touch with these people after they've been a part of your events?
All the time. We have this wonderful newsletter that goes out every month, because again, the relationships that we build our sponsors, we're not one of those organizations just to take money and you don't know where the money goes. This is why every month I send them a letter. This is where your money went. This is the event you sponsored. This is how many people you impacted. And we keep their emails, their phone numbers. We're constantly inviting them out to these events. This is why the consistency is so important. And this is why we have to have at least 4 events per month to keep them coming, because that's where we found out one of the veterans was homeless. We had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, like you said, you want to link other nonprofit services so that not only can they come in there and meet, but you can fill their other needs as well and connect them with other people.
Absolutely.
So that's really important. I've seen and I've had friends who have come back with damage. And I'm not meaning physical damage. I know you're talking about TBI and that happens a lot, but just not right anymore. They come back from the military not right. And families worry and everybody worries. What do you want to say to somebody who's watching a loved one struggle? Is there something that they should do? Because sometimes these guys and girls struggle and they try to keep it all together themselves. And you probably know better than I. Don't tell anybody about the struggle. Don't tell anybody about how I'm feeling and hold it all in. But your loved ones can see it. They can see it and they can feel it. Is there anything they should do when they have a loved one who's suffering?
And I think from what I noticed, I'll take over for a second from the spouse's perspective, because every time we communicate or do podcast interviews and things like that, I always keep an eye on a spouse, right? And the spouses are like, well, where were you when we were going through that? When were you when the kids were going through this and that? So there is not a lot of connection, especially if you were deployed 10, 15, 20 years. You're almost strangers now living in the same house. As a spouse, you don't really understand what PTSD and trauma looks like. You don't know what to do. So a lot of times they'll reach out to us or to Angelo and say, this is what I see. Can you reach out to my husband? But please don't tell them that I made the phone call. And this is where we strive for education and not inspiration. And this is something that we are working on, to create an educational conference for family members as well, to understand how to deal with PTSD, how to support with trauma. And I don't want inspiration. Like, inspiration is great. You go to a lot of conferences and it's like rah, you get red wine and blue can and you come out
you want actionable intel, something they can use, something they can do.
Every single person that will speak will have something to give them, whether it's a blueprint or the actual treatments that these veterans can go. There are incredible organizations like NSU, or they're one of our partners, that they do mental health, dental work, vision work. Nobody knows about it.
No.
For free for all the veterans and their families.
And we don't know about these things, because the more people see other people pitching in, they're going to pitch in as well. And we need to get those things out there. So I think a conference would be great. Would back you guys up as much as we could. But I wanted to ask you another question about alcoholism and drug addiction. We're seeing a real rise in that. And with the new drugs out there and everything, it's not like the old days where you can afford to wait a little bit. People die, all the time. And, is that a concern for you as you're doing these events? Are you watching for those things, or what do you, because you're going to see things going on in front of you, or that you're going to recognize, are you prepared to handle those things?
Well, one, for sure, I am, but two, because I'm sober and clean, and I believe in the motto "Ductus exemplo," lead by example. A lot of people already know that I do not partake in drinking or using drugs.
Right.
I don't need any of those things to make poor decisions myself. I love to have fun, just like everyone else, but they see that I'm not drinking, getting hammered, or that I'm not doing drugs to make the situation more fun. If there's somebody, and through all of our events, we haven't had anybody
It's just because the way we set things up. They
Right.
already
And
know
we-
ahead that we don't
Yeah.
promote drinking, we don't promote partying, we promote community. We promote socializing, connecting. Again, wives connecting with each other, discussing, kids connecting with each other, calling themselves and saying, hey, these are the symptoms I'm seeing. Are you, did so-and-so go through the same thing? So because we are so clear, and at times we'll announce before the event that there will be no drinking.
Mm.
So they know that what the foundation stands for. And I think it's so far, it has been very easily controllable for us.
And we know our audience too.
Yeah.
Like our audience, I'm sure veterans, but a lot of our audience are looking for family friendly fun. They're not looking to meet for a happy hour. They're not looking to meet up at a nightclub to party all night. Like they're not looking for that. They're looking for Top Golf. They're looking to go shoot on a range. They're looking for a comedy show. Like they're looking for real fun.
Right. Where real connections can be made.
Real community.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I mean, is there anything else you want to throw out there while we're here? Because we're going to be wrapping up in a moment. I don't want to miss anything. Although the door is open, let's do this more often. And we can certainly, if you have an event coming up, if you can't come in yourself, give me the information and I'll put it out on our podcast. But, and certainly in whatever else we can do. But what else you want to add to all of this?
I think it's important to share that, your life, you may be struggling right now, and you may be on the cusp of taking your life because you feel like your life doesn't matter, but your life does matter. And I promise you that it's this much. Once you get past that, there's a whole new meaning, purpose, structure of life on the other side. So much more. And that's what I discovered. I made that decision to take my life. I was overcome with peace, overcome with it, because nothing else mattered. But the moment I got surrounded by a bunch of people just like me, I was filled to the gills with love and joy. And I knew it was like suicide was a lie, because the pain doesn't necessarily leave you. All it does, it's transferred to the ones that love you most. And you're not leaving this planet pain-free. You're going to know that your family, all your loved ones, your wife, your kids, your friends, they're all going to suffer because you decided to leave. And it's not because you're bad or anything like that. There's so much more to life than that dark moment.
And I love the way you put that, because that dark moment, that pain and suffering, is such a small part of the rest of the world. But it's our focus, so we believe it's the whole world. We believe it's everything.
Yeah.
So just to peek your head up and look around a little bit and realize there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. And that's what your organization is helping them do as well. Yeah. Which is brilliant. So I love that. And Natalia, I mean, you've dedicated yourself to this, and my hat's off to you. You're not a responder.
Thank you.
You just found the cause to be important. What do you want to see in the future?
No, I wanted to serve my country, because now U.S. has become my country without serving my country, right? And I found
You're
my
originally
purpose.
from
Republic of Georgia.
Oh, I was going to guess New Jersey. But go ahead. I thought that was a Jersey accent. I don't know.
Everybody says that to me. Are you from New York? Because they don't understand my accent. I used to live in New York. Maybe that's where I picked it up a little bit. But
Long Island.
Long Island. So for me to serve this country, and obviously it's through our veterans, and it's just, I always tell people, don't underestimate the hole that you're going to leave when you're not around anymore. And every single one of you is so special. And because God has put something special inside all of us, and you will be so missed. And, I always say, I couldn't imagine life without Angelo, right? Like, the world is so much more beautiful, but how many Angelos are out there? So don't, and I know pride is one of the biggest things that sometimes we have to overcome, but reach out to Angelo. He's so easy to talk to. He's a really great friend to have. And we are here to support you with anything that we can. And this is just the beginning. We are starting a movement to bring that 44 down to zero or close to zero, as close as possible. And even if we're no longer around or we have to close our doors, the movement has begun. And someone else will always be here and someone else will take over because, again, you guys have given so much and sacrificed so much for this country and its citizens that it's our pleasure, it's our honor to give back.
Absolutely.
Wow. And every kind word lends itself to letting them know that they're important.
Absolutely.
And that's what everybody out there can do. You're right, with a hug, or just don't turn your head away. Don't turn away. Say hello. Spend a moment. If you're standing in line with them at the Piggly Wiggly, take a moment and talk to them. Every human being deserves that honor, especially our veterans. They deserve the respect, our honor, and our thanks and our gratitude and everything else. So if you want to serve your country without having to go into the military, then honor the veterans and help them out. Get involved in organizations like yours. I'm going to put it up one more time. It's barrackslegendfoundation.com. Why Barracks Legend? What is that? I got to know. Before we go, I got to know what that is.
So funny enough, before I met Natalia and everyone, when I really started connecting back with the veteran community, we started making shirts. It was a small business I started with a few of my other colleagues. And we came up with Barracks Legend. And the Barracks Legend is just what it is. It comes from veterans or active duty that live in the barracks that have these crazy stories that
that's where the
transcend the sense of
camaraderie
time.
starts. Yeah.
And that's where it all starts, is right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I imagine that's at the I know boot camp or even active duty, when you guys come back to the barracks, it's that one chance you get to decompress and support each other. And I know a lot of it's done through jokes and goofing around and horseplay, but some of it becomes very real.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're in the barracks, and that is where all your majority of your fondest memories in the military, especially in the Marine Corps, are in the barracks. They're all in the barracks. From
all the pranks that they play on each other.
It's, I mean,
like he told me a story. Someone brought a gator to the barracks, right?
Oh my God, no. If you have enough time, I can tell it.
We'll have to do this again and get some of those stories together. Maybe even maybe we can interview a few vets and stuff and get some words out there. But I want everybody to get involved. barrackslegendfoundation.com. Make sure that you just $5, whatever you can do, $100, do something. But more importantly, keep an eye. They can keep an eye on the site to see when the events are coming.
Yep.
And they could also reach out to you guys and say, I'd like to volunteer to help, right?
Yes.
And you want that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our events are listed on the website under calendar, past and present. They all stay up there. And we're always looking for volunteers to give us a hand as well. And we have a wonderful conference coming up. Hopefully we can come back and talk about that more once I have more details.
We must. Do you take donations of any other things, clothing and things like that?
Not at the moment, just because we're so event driven.
You have to focus.
Yeah.
You can grow later, but
yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, then, hey, do you guys know any? We'll let you know if we find some places, because I know a lot of people want to donate clothing and things like that, and we'll find out which are the best places to donate that.
Yeah.
Don't donate in those bins that are in the parking lots. Most of those are resale bins.
Yeah.
They actually take that, they resell it. Nobody's getting help. So we'll find those organizations. But for now, Angelo, my friend,
Thank you.
Natalia,
thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. I'm honored that you guys would take the time to come in. And our invisible friend Duke down there, I'm so glad that he was here too. He actually got up and moved around a few times. He wasn't completely useless during the show. It was. But for everybody out there, once again, I'll remind you, you're watching the Calling Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jones. Make sure that you like this program and share it with your friends. And, of course, leave comments. Those comments are very important. We read them. We'll catch you next time, and thanks for joining us right here on the Calling Podcast. Bye-bye.
Asking questions and then